Hi, my name is Sole, and you're listening to Heartland, a fan podcast from a fan perspective. Welcome back. This is the third part of the Aidan experience. First of all, I want to say thank you for all the feedback that I've gotten. It's been nice to see that as much fun as it was to do, it has been able to translate to you as well. Yeah, there's still one part left after this third one. So I hope we keep entertaining you for the next 2 weeks. Yeah, a couple of things before I let you get back to me and Aiden being cute. First of all, if you're listening this on Saturday, the Canadian Screen Awards that I talked about in an earlier episode that we nominated Heartland for the audience choice. The show is airing tomorrow, so fingers crossed for a win finally for Heartland. Yeah, I guess we'll see next week what happens. But I know that at least Michelle is attending the show, so at least there will be something, if not a win, but hopefully a win. And secondly, if you're only listening to this, I suggest that when we're talking about the prop stuff, it'll make sense in a minute. You head over to YouTube where I have the visual version available because I added a little extra stuff to kind of make it more visual and help you see what we're talking about. But I think that's all. Again, enjoy, and I'll see you here after. Well, you talked a little bit about how Rick is similar to you or different from you, but are they clearly things that are very different, or is it well, he's just me?
First of all, he holds down a 9 to 5 job. So I think he probably has a better work ethic than I. But no, I would say he comes across as, or what I understand him to be, he's a lot more confident in who he is, where he is in the world, in order to adopt, to be married, to be in a different country and setting up his life. I know that I live in a different country, but beyond that, we're very different. I think that's a lot of actors. You would assume that you have to be confident to do it, but it's actually your insecurity, because then you can tap into somebody else and live vicariously through a character.
Yeah.
That's what I do, because otherwise I'm a reclusive person, very antisocial as I've gotten older. So he is definitely bringing more light into my life and making me step into more of who I could be. And also this year, the vulnerability of him and getting the connection with Lou and understanding to a certain level of what the adoption process has been like for him. It's made me realize about talking about my feelings, that there's nothing wrong with how I'm feeling, that there's no shame in it. So he's more open than what I think you would initially think. Yeah, I think as much as he can be sassy and sarky, Rick is definitely someone I admire and would like to be more like, actually. I probably like 10% less campness, but apart from that, but why not own it? That's what I mean. That's my internalized homophobia, because what's wrong with that?
Exactly.
He's being who he wants to be, and he makes no apologies. And at the end of the day, there's nothing offensive about who he is. He's a better guy than me, I would say. So well done, writers.
They're like, let's give Aiden some notes through this character. Like, he could be this person.
Here's some homework for you, Aiden.
Yeah, hint, hint.
Because behind the scenes, you're a bit of a snore.
But I know Sean has his boots and Chris has his belt, and they help him get into the character. Do you have something like that with Rick?
I think you know the answer after me telling you how I break down a script.
No, but I was thinking, I think you've mentioned in the
Oh, I
past.
do. I
Your
do.
phone. You have,
Yes.
yeah,
See, there we go. I talked myself out of things before I've thought about them.
yeah.
I do have something. Thank you,
So
Sophie.
is it the phone or is it
It's
just
the
like,
phone.
yeah,
I did try, I don't know if you noticed this season, to not have it as
I
much
noticed.
because I was terrible at doing this. I liked to use it a lot, as in like pointing and doing this and whatnot. And props would always be like, can you remember what hand that's in? And as you can probably guess, I'm not one for remembering. And do you notice a few continuity issues?
My sister is really strict with those. She sometimes comes back with like, "Oh, Rick didn't, or some
That was,
whatever character," and I'm
I
like,
think it's
"Just
episode.
chill."
And it's funny because one of them I was so annoyed about when I watched them because I was adamant on the day, and I remember vividly, I said, I was not holding this in this hand on the last shot. And they were like, nope, sorry, Wayne, I'm throwing you under the bus. I love you. But Wayne came in
Poor
because he
Wayne.
writes on his script what you're doing.
Yeah.
Wayne was like, no, you are holding the charger in that hand and the laptop in that hand. And I was like, no, I wasn't.
Is it the season 16 premiere? Because I noticed you had the iPad or something and it switches
Yes,
your
yes.
hand. And I'm like,
I'm standing there with a wire and the iPad, and I'm saying something on the wide, and then it goes back to me, and then I'm like that.
yeah, I
Oh,
noticed.
and then there was another one where they're the moments as an actor that you're like, oh no. Because then you think if another director from another show is watching this and they notice, they'll be like, what a terrible actor. But in my defense, that one wasn't my fault because I remember saying, this isn't right.
So
But,
Wayne,
but then there was another one where it was my fault. I'm trying to think what it was. But yeah, there's little things like that where, and it blows my mind because the editors must not have had any other options because normally an editor would be like, right, that's not matching. So we'll have to go to a wide or to the other character.
so they have
But
time to switch the hand, so to
yeah,
speak.
but there was another one where I think it was me holding a phone. Oh, do I want to give it away? How bad I am. I think it's the
Up
one
to
where
you.
it's the flood episode. And
Yeah.
you know where I sit back on Lou's chair and
Yeah.
I'm going, hi, how are you? What chair? I think maybe this isn't the right one, but I'm holding the phone in one hand like that. And then I think when it goes to the close-up, I'm holding it like that.
I'm gonna check after this
I
because
think it's that. If it's not that scene, it's that movement of my hand on a phone. And on the wide, I'm holding it there. And then when it goes to the close up, I'm holding it like that.
yeah.
And I remember it being so stressful because I was sweating because I'm terrible with props. And when you have a video call, Heartland, I think, are a little bit behind the times because we just have on the camera roll the video. So you have to press play in time and they never leave enough time. So it's literally going to go straight the way. So you're like, press, and then they're like, action. So you're like, quick. And they'll go in, and then you're holding it. And then there's just so happy it's playing in time that no one's looking at your hand.
Right.
And I think that's what happened.
They need an
But
extra person on set. If, the position opens, my sister, she can come in and
well, that's my if this year goes, that's my one as I said, I think before, I like to learn something new and I'm open to it. So that's my one thing to learn this year. Props. Be more confident and more aware of when you're using props. Michelle is so amazing. She's like a masterclass of props and movements. And it's another aspect as an actor coming in late that you don't really think about because you just assume, oh, well, you're just going to hold that or you're just going to do that.
yeah.
We'll be in Maggie's and she'll be like, well, I think I'm going to start with like this and then I'm going to do like this. And I did like a little recording
Yeah,
thing
I
of
was
her
just gonna say you posted the video where she was like,
because I was like mocking her because I thought she was doing the Macarena. Like I was like, what are you doing?
yeah.
But then I shouldn't laugh. I should learn because that's how you do continuity properly. Because
Yeah.
me, I just on a whim think I'm open and flexible. And I'll start with a can and then I'll put it down. And then the next shot, they'll be like, you were holding a can in the first one. And I was like, was I? Oh, okay. What word do I say it on? And then that's it.
You're living in the moment.
So anyone who wants to be an actor and just starting, avoid props like the plague. Avoid them.
So you've been on the show for 3 years now, as we've said. How has the experience changed over the years?
I think like anything in life that changed, the dynamics change with how I deal with social media, with fans.
Mm,
I'm definitely someone who wants to give so much, and it's trying to understand how much you can give for yourself, but also for others, so that people don't expect, because if you make yourself so accessible, then people have an assumption, and I feel bad when then I go missing and then people worry, and it's finding that
yeah.
balance. So that has changed, and I'm still trying to figure that out. So I'm sorry, anyone, if in the fandom, if I go missing or whatnot. I love you all. Thank
We
you.
were just so excited to have someone who actually interacts with the fans. We were like, oh my God. So, yeah.
And I really want to pick that up. And I think once I've come to terms with how people are dealing with this storyline, then I'll be back. But I found every time I was being asked about it, or it was something that I had to address, I was being very negative about it.
Mm.
And no one wants a negative Nelly, So I was just like, no, this is not cute. But yeah, so the fandom is definitely, it's a learning curve for me that I'm still trying to understand and navigate. But I want to improve on this year. The show has been better because I feel more involved.
Yeah.
I feel more secure in my role. The first definite 2 seasons, it was more flying by the seat of my pants, where it's like, each episode, am I going to get another episode?
Mm.
So that insecurity and uncertainty was definitely the driving force for you not being able to enjoy the moment, because you were constantly thinking about the next one. So this year I felt more stable, so I got to enjoy it more. But also, I think like in any workplace or at school or anywhere that we spend a lot of time with people, the dynamics change with relationships. And again, as the years have gone on, I've understood it better and not taken it so personally, because people have so much going on in their lives, whether it's to do with the actual job that we're doing on Heartland or personal lives. Everything is going on. And so people that I was closer with at the beginning, I'm probably less so now. And the good thing about that is that then there's this newer blood of cast, especially since I've joined, that we are so close. Drew, Bay, Ava, me, Michelle Nolden are like the newbies.
But I kind of love that there was more people coming in around the same time as you, because you don't feel like, oh, I'm the new kid forever.
That's what I
Because
mean. We have like this, we're sort of like the new generation,
yeah,
that we have like we all feel like definite peers on the same level, you know, and we still regard the other like high five. Do you get what I mean?
yeah.
And it's always like, oh, I'm going to work with Vicky tomorrow. But with the others, I'm like, come on, then let's go.
Come
You
on,
know?
losers, we're going to act.
Yeah, exactly. So those dynamics have changed, but I treat it like as like an office environment where everyone's got different departments, even though we're all
Yeah,
actors. So sometimes it comes with like highs and lows. Sometimes that department will have more work on, more stresses, more goals that they need to hit. So they're more stressed, or they can't, and then
yeah.
you all join to the office party. That's been just the learning curve of someone who has more free time, where I've been like, why won't they text me back today?
I was working. Speaking of office parties, like you came in when COVID had, started. Everyone was in their own bubbles and everything like that. Has that changed? Like, do you hang out more on set now, and or
With different people? Again, that changed with who. But yeah, definitely this year we spent more time at the hotel but as I say, as that stay at the hotel, we're flown in and out so quickly, so it's kind of annoying. But that's why this year we got more time together, because we had more of a connection, so we'd be texting all the time. Shona and I'd be like, what plane are you on? When are you?
what's your seat?
9 o'clock. Yeah, so there was more interaction, definitely. So yeah, it was more fun this year. But I just hope this year, I don't know, I'm hoping they drop the COVID testing, because last year, even though COVID, I know it's not over, but testing wasn't so much of a thing everywhere. But because of insurance on the production, it was.
Yeah.
So we were still having to be slightly careful. But yeah, no, we definitely hang out more. And I'm hoping this year, that's what I was saying. If COVID tests are completely gone, then we'll just be able to go nuts. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. Because I remember in the earlier years, that was something a lot of the cast members did, hanging out. But,
Like
of course,
season
people
14,
have
like, I literally
families
saw
and
nobody
yeah,
outside of our days on set because you weren't allowed. Or
yeah,
if you were allowed, you were not only thinking about others' health, as someone who's younger and didn't have to worry about that element of it so much, my major driving concern of not interacting or socializing was, if I tested positive, even if I was asymptomatic, I wouldn't be able to go on set. So therefore, I wouldn't get paid. And where my character was, maybe I'd get written out of the show. So for those season 14 and 15, even when we were allowed to socialize, because of work, I didn't. Like, people would call here, and like some friends got annoyed with me and don't even talk to me anymore, because when we were allowed to socialize, I'd be like, no, where have you been? Who have you been with? How many people have you touched?
yeah,
Because I can't jeopardize my job.
yeah.
So
But it just happens. People have different phases in their lives, and
right.
you have to do what you have to do, and sometimes
And in
friends sleep.
hindsight, I think me being hyper focused on Heartland, as much as sometimes being hyper focused isn't hugely healthy, I think it did help me to become more focused on my career and understand the importance of it. And I think I'm definitely I think that's why I'm still on the show, because beyond my acting ability, I think I'm professional, and that I hope to say that I'm a nice person to be around, to work with.
Yeah.
So yeah, just bigging myself up.
Yeah. So what has been the most exciting Rick storyline for you to film? We've seen him a little bit more in different situations, so it's not just the office stuff. But maybe you like that. I don't know.
My favorite, even though it wasn't, I barely even spoke in the episode, but it's when my mum came, the episode Bluebird, in season 15, just because it was at the Dude Ranch. I love seeing the places from on the screen to then being able to go to the set like any fan would,
Yeah.
I like to see these places and how it all works behind the scenes. But then also to be with other characters on that day is also fun. And then also to be on a horse.
Yeah.
And just seeing that different interaction and dynamic of, it wasn't to do with the mayor's office. It was completely different. And I felt like it was more I just loved how freeing that all was. And yeah, I hope I get more scenes like that, because that was totally random, but I loved it.
Yeah, because it was also like not only, Rick's mom, but you had Jessica, Michelle Nolan's character there. So it's like, whoa, I never would have thought
There were
they
so
would
many different
interact.
moving parts
Yeah.
of that. And I was like, I never would have thought that this scene would happen. Like,
Yeah.
it's so random if you think about it, but it worked and it was fun. And I felt like it was the most Heartland scene I've ever done. It just so happened to be happening in the universe of Heartland. Normally I'm stuck in that office.
Well, it's like all these things like, Amy has to work with horses, like that's what she does.
Right.
And, Rick has to work also. But for me, the most exciting stuff is when Tim was coaching Rick and,
That's true.
yeah.
That was a really fun
So
moment.
it's kind of like these moments that you don't expect and that kind of go away from what's usually happening. That's like
And I
really
was so
like
surprised
exciting.
by that scene, because I was nervous about that scene, because obviously I'd worked with Chris as a director before, but never on screen as an actor. And I knew I got on well with him and we had this rapport, because some men I get on with and some men I don't. And I just got on with Chris. we had this thing. And so my mum was really making me nervous about it. She was like, well, make sure you're good because I like him and he's good. And I was like, okay, calm down.
I know how to behave, thank you.
But this is what I love about people like Chris. They've been in the industry for so long, and someone like me must be a joke to him.
I
But
don't think
he's
so.
like, we were exactly the same level. We were both there for the same purpose. And he never told me what to do. Never, like the way he holds himself and knows how important it is to make someone feel comfortable on a set is just a testament to someone being in the industry for that long. Because some people can be all after being in it that long. But that scene really surprised me because I just thought it was just gonna be like a throwaway sort of thing. And it was the last scene of the day. We were rushing because that was the day that High River could have flooded again randomly. So they were trying to get it before the rain was really going at the window because we were filming a flood and it was going to flood in real life. So we were like, what? And so just the way we knocked that back and forth. And so when I saw that, and I was like, the way that the camera like swished and I was like, oh my God, I want more of these scenes.
Right? Yeah, I hope that those kind of things continue to happen.
I'm hoping that they see, but again, I said, I need to realize I'm nothing special. That can be any character with Chris, you know.
Well,
I'm with Tim, sorry, Chris. But I feel like there is a potential there to grow Rick as a more rounded character. Then I think if you had those elements of his character, then you could address the other deeper parts of it.
Totally.
But then that's like booking me up to series regular. So I don't think that's I'm
No.
just like
I'm hoping that we get to see a scene with Jack and Rick because who knows about that dynamic.
The original Bluebird season 15 with my mother, that originally was pitched to Michelle in between seasons 14 and 15 as I was going to have a character with a scene with my mum and Jack. Because Michelle messaged me and said, oh, have you heard? And I was like, no, I haven't. Of course I haven't.
Have you learned nothing from this experience so far?
Like,
I know nothing.
But she was like, I've been told because I'm directing the episode. And then I don't know what ever happened. And I never asked because I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
And then obviously they changed it all. But that was obviously an idea. So I'm hoping it happens. But I think maybe because that episode, they had the cattle drive with Grayson.
Right.
I feel like I would be that kind of vibe where I'm sitting on a horse and get saddle sore, you know, like he did with that one and he had the ice. When I saw that episode, I was like, oh, that could have been Rick if the story was kind of different. So I get they've got to make sure it's not the same. And I know Heartland love a recycle of a storyline. So maybe we'll be doing that next season.
Hopefully, but yeah. Okay, that was it for this week. Like I said, last part coming next week. But before that, remember to keep your noses clean and your powder dry, as they say. Bye.